business does. We monitor and adjust.
Oh, to posting.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
The sun is rising, feel the warmth on my face. There's a lot to do now, but there ain't no race. I sip my coffee, I'm feeling fine. No need to work yet, I'm gonna take my time. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way, gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way, gotta take it on my way.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I'm your host. On tonight's show, we are live with our special guest, Katie Leonard, founder of Healthy Communities. Before we actually get into the interview, I want to let everybody know that we are live again, and that if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to send some to us. We will be able to answer those questions as we continue going through the interview later on. But right now, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome again, Katie. How are you?
Thank you. I am so excited.
I am so glad that you're here. I want everybody to know this is our first live interview. So if you hear a bunch of nonsense going on and craziness in the background, it's because I'm trying to get everything right. But it's okay. So as we get started, one of the things I want to ask you is tell your listeners here, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited, like I said. So I am first and foremost, I guess, a mom. I am a community developer. My background is in urban planning and public health. And my main goal in life is really to work with people to revitalize communities and to work with women right now to help them achieve their goals and achieve success.
Awesome. That is just amazing. I know that you actually have several other businesses that you're doing, and we'll kind of get into that a little later, but you are definitely someone to be looking up to. And so I wanted to ask you, you're here to inspire others, but how did you get inspired? Who inspired you to start business, or what made you think that this is something you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I was kind of like a lot of other females that you see, and that you always have those ideas, right? Like you always will say, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to start a store, or I'm going to start a podcast, whatever it is. And then we kind of get caught up in our own head and in our feelings a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I started listening and following Myleik Teal, and she is the founder of Curlbox. So Curlbox is the natural hair subscription service. So every month you can go online and they'll send you a box of amazing products. And so she was very transparent in her podcast about how she got started. And I really just started realizing that she was an everyday person, just like me and anybody else who you pass on the street. And she just did it. She just went for it. And so listening to her and kind of relating to her on a lot of different aspects allowed me to consider that for myself and to be like, you know what, maybe I could just do it. And I did. And here we are today.
Yeah. And like I said, you are amazing because I know that you have more than one business. Can you kind of elaborate on the field of business that you're in?
Yeah, so my first business that I started almost 2.5 years ago is Healthy Communities, and I really wanted to embrace my background in urban planning and public health. I think I'm very fortunate that I actually get to use my college degrees every single day. And I wanted to do consulting. I wanted to be higher impact in the private sector. I've been public sector up until that point, and just kind of try my own thing out and try to revitalize and transform communities, and looking at how, looking at health outcomes and how we can get communities there. So mostly looking and working with like minority disenfranchised communities. That's really been the goal, in trying to develop them in a way where people don't have to be pushed out. They can stay in the community. And part of that was me being, I'm very strategic, I'm very forward thinking. And if I can do community planning, so if I can look at a community and I can say, hey, in 5 years you can look like this, in 20 years you can look like this, and I can develop strategies to get there, I started reflecting on myself and saying, wow, you've really achieved almost every goal that you've set out for yourself. And I've applied that same mentality to myself that I do professionally. And I was just thinking one day, maybe I should do this with other people. Like, if I can achieve my goals, I have this framework in place, I can work with other females to help them achieve their goals as well. So after Healthy Communities, I started Caitlin.com, and that's where I blog. I kind of do more Instagram posts, and it's kind of my fun outlet, and I really get to see how people's lives have been changed, or the feedback. My daughter was in Starbucks today and ran into somebody who follows me, and they told her, I follow your mom, and she's very motivational and encouraging, and she's great. And she didn't like to hear that because she's a teenager and she thinks I'm lame. But I mean, it's reassuring because you see that people are paying attention and you're being, meaningful in other people's lives.
Right. And your blog is amazing. I read it every day because I'm on your special, link there so I can get it. And it's a really good blog, and it just makes you think outside of yourself. And you use real simple ideas and things to think about. And, sometimes we can just take things and put things all over the place and we don't grasp it. But when I read your blog, I actually grasp that. And that's something that me, even being an entrepreneur, that I'm learning from you is learning how to blog, because that's probably one of my weaknesses. It's like, it's one thing to write, but then trying to actually blog something that you could take one sentence and then make it into this masterpiece. That is definitely one thing that I see you do in your blog.
Oh, well, thank you. And I encourage you. I mean, I got really great advice from my colleague right now, Dan Bull, and I was, talking about how I was scared in doing something. And he said, the only way you're going to learn how to do it is to do it. And I think that when it comes to writing, if you want to write a blog, go write your blog. I mean, and people will be very fast to critique you and tell you if you have an apostrophe wrong, or you use the wrong form of, you conjugated your verb, incorrectly. Right. But you learn and you take that feedback and you just keep going. And part of my struggle when I was starting was that I was comparing myself to what I was reading in other blogs or in other spaces. And I was like, okay, I have to be like that, or I have to talk a certain way. But when it came down to it, as soon as I stripped that and I just kept it real. So if I want to get excited and say the F word, then sometimes that just happens, right? But that's me, and that's how I communicate, and that's what I try to let show in my blog, so that way people just get that realness. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I mean, I think that there's power in that too.
Yeah, you're right, and that's the key. I think that it's so easy to follow the people, and then we get trapped into thinking, oh my gosh, what we're providing is not good enough. But the reality is always somebody out there who needs your advice, whether it's right or wrong. It's how people interpret things and how they end up utilizing it that's going to benefit them. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, though, you have an incubator business that you're working on. Could you tell the listeners about that? Because this is probably the most interesting thing, and that I've heard the way that you're developing incubators, and incubators aren't anything new, but it's how you're doing this one. So tell our listeners a little bit about that.
I think I'll just have, the caveat to this story is that my brain works very like a mile a minute, I guess. And so I have ideas that pop into my head constantly. And so I tend to sometimes get scatterbrained, and clearly, I have this Healthy Communities initiative, and I'm wanting to go after working with different communities. I was looking at, working on contracts in Detroit and Florida, wherever, that had really great projects. And then I started volunteering about a year ago with OAR. So it stands for Opportunities, Alternatives, and Resources here in Fairfax County. And I started teaching workforce skills in the detention center. And, I'm a community developer. I get the mass incarceration and the criminal justice piece, but to be face-to-face with people who are living that life every single day and to hear about the struggles that they face when they are released and to hear about the issues that they have and why they end up back incarcerated. I've had a lot of males in my class who are in their 50s and have been in and out of jails and prisons their entire life. And so, I just kind of had this awakening one time in one of my classes where I was like, you know what, I can do more. I can be more, and I can apply my background and what I know and kind of take it to the next level rather than just teaching in the classroom. And so I remembered from urban planning school, we learned about tech incubators, and I went to University of Florida, go Gators, and they have some really great tech incubators in the city of Gainesville. And so I was like, wouldn't it be cool to maybe work with people who've been incarcerated and have them have their own businesses? And so I had the idea and was just really reaching out to people to ask other people if it made sense, if this was something that made sense here in Northern Virginia. And people were really excited about it. And I found a really great model out of Pittsburgh called 068, and they are doing great jobs. They, have people who've been incarcerated with their business concepts and their business ideas, and they're hiring people who've been incarcerated and really changing that picture of what the quote-unquote ex-offender is.
Right.
So, we have people who are engineers, teachers, we have, attorneys, police officers, you name it, are sometimes sitting behind bars. And so it's really changing that perception that we have of, if you've gone to prison or you've been in a detention center, that you are the crackhead on the street, or you aren't worthy of employment, or you aren't worthy of living and being my next door neighbor. And so it's really, working on this concept to bring about more innovative ideas and bring about these ideas from a population that people have kind of brushed off. And I think in terms of the entrepreneurial piece of this on my end is that I saw a need, right? I'm sitting in this classroom once a week and I see the need, and I know community development, I know economic development, and I started my own businesses, but I was scared at first to go into incubators because I didn't know incubators.
Okay.
But I'm most proud of myself now and where we are right now because I took, made movement, and it's been great, and people have been really supportive. And now I'm working with 068 out of Pittsburgh and exploring opportunities and them expanding here. And so it's really exciting, and it's really, I'm proud of myself that
and you should be.
Yeah, and that I had this idea, and it's, I'm doing it. That's the big thing.
Right. And I think that the thing that's important is that we all understand that most people who are part of the system really sets people up to fail. Because if they really wanted people to come out and be a part of the society and do something beneficial for themselves, they would have these types of programs available, but they're never really truly available, because you can't train somebody overnight and expect them to go out here and be like, oh yeah, everything's perfect and the world's going to accept me. And we see that so often with our young men and our young brothers that are in and out of the system. They have nothing to come to. So when they come out, it's kind of frustrating to see that, like I said, they can't get a job, but then they're told, well, you need to get out here and go to work. Well, where are you going to work? Because like you said, it's that stigma that everybody has on people who've been a part of the system, that, they're not welcomed.
And you do have a lot of really great programs and a lot of great, nonprofits who are in this space and doing great work, looking at job training, job skills, trying to get people housing. I mean, there are a lot of programs out there, but, sometimes if I'm looking at, health outcomes, and I know that income plays a really big role in your health outcomes. So your income allows you to have access to health insurance. It allows you to, if you have a cough, you can go to CVS and get cough drops, get prescription, go to a doctor. And so how do we raise the level and raise the bar to where people can have access to the resources that they need, and to work with our partners that are doing the great work in the community already? Because I would argue, there can always be more in this section. And I think that this is a great benefit and it's a great complement to what's already happening in the community. And I'm excited for that. But I do, I don't want to discredit the work that is already happening. Okay. But I think the stigma is really, really important to address, because we tend to think that people can't. And I was at this talk one time and the guy said, what would you do if you knew you were qualified for a job, but how many times would you be willing to go out there and embarrass yourself and get told no over and over and over again? So it plays a really heavy toll, and I'm excited that, I'm creating an opportunity that is that kind of light at the end of the tunnel, and is that place where that if you have the skills and you are, aligned with what our mission is, that we have a place for you. Right. And that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I think the beauty about it is that they have a support system, and that's the key. A lot of these men that come out, they don't have a support system. So that's a part of the failure that they run into day in, day out. So I definitely, commend you on what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So excellent.
It has me hype. I'm not going to lie.
All right. Quick question. So you have all these businesses. Tell me some of the challenges that you've been facing with the businesses that you've have out.
Yeah, I think for me, part of the, initially starting, part of the challenge was it's hard. It's hard work, and you do not see immediate success. And I mean, you do have the people who will pat you on the back and say great job, and your friends will be supportive. But we are in this very fast-paced society, and we want things right now. Like, if you send me a video and it's longer than a minute, I'm probably not going to watch it.
Right.
Or at least I want you to tell me, what point does it get funny? Like, I'll fast forward to that part. And so you have to be patient, and you have to put the work in, and you have to stay consistent. And, I'm a single mom, and I have a lot going on, and I struggled with that initially, was staying on task and staying consistent, because you don't always have that reward to stay consistent.
Right.
And you don't have that positive feedback all the time to remain consistent. So, we compare ourselves to some of the people that we might see on social media that have a ton of followers, or people that are, producing all of this great content. But it's just a matter of starting and knowing that, you can get to where you need to get to, but you have to put the small work in every single day.
Right. So let me ask, do you have like a support system that helps you? Because, you've got so many different avenues and directions that you're going. Who is your support system?
Yeah. Girl, I only surround myself with amazing people. I think that that's key. I'm a firm believer in the saying of you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And
amen to that one.
I have the best network, and I have the best friends that, encourage me and kind of will point me back to my own stuff. So when I get in my feelings, or if I've had a rough day, they'll be like, hey, remember that blog of Superwoman Redefined that you said? You should go read that. Or remember that Instagram video you did about, just holding yourself accountable? You should look at that. And so they hold me accountable, to my own standard. And I have very high standards and expectations. And I think that's important. And they also call me on it. So if I'm not doing what I should be doing, or if I'm kind of, getting away from who I am or what my personal mission is, I have people in my life who aren't afraid to be like, girl, check yourself and
get it together, right?
Tighten up. Like, I mean, we go to the gym together.
That's right.
And if I happen to not be at the gym for a couple of mornings, people are asking me, where have you been?
That's right. Yeah, because I'll be like, I haven't seen you in a while. What's been going on?
And then that hurts your feelings a little bit, and then you have to go. So I think that the key is surrounding yourself, and it doesn't have to be your family. It doesn't have to be, who you think it might be. And as you progress and as you become more successful, your circle changes. And one of my new favorite sayings is that my friend Kristen told me about, was that we talk about our circle, right? Our circle. And it's like, as we get older and as we get successful, our circle becomes more like a square. So it's more about who you have in your corner rather than who's in your circle.
That's right.
And I find that to be more and more true every single day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's everybody needs that in business, and that's something that I'm even trying to put together, is having that excellent support system of people that, like I said, that could check you when you need to be checked, or like, yeah, you can't do that right now, you need to slow it down and come back a pace. And then also those who are willing to help you get to that top of what you feel is the top for you. And
it's about investing in yourself too. I mean, I have a business coach that I work with, Daniel Alley, and he allowed me, one, to think a lot different, and he put like pressure on me to be better and to not stay at like a certain level, but constantly, every time we speak and every time that we're talking, it's, what are you doing? And okay, but think bigger, you're better, you're broader, like go higher. And you need that. And sometimes we get stuck with hanging out with our friends from, elementary school or high school. And that's great. I mean, I think we need those people in our lives, but sometimes we have to take it, to another circle or square, if you will, and get around people that make you feel uncomfortable, and get around people who are doing better than you, and get around people who are grinding harder than you grind.
Exactly.
And, you have to get uncomfortable, and you have to look kind of within yourself to make it happen.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, people are in business for a reason. And when they have that dream, I think all of us feel that there's something we can do that's going to be better, not just so much even for yourself, but for everybody. But in order to make that possible, you have to be on that grind, that daily grind, and not everybody's going to understand that. So for those who don't understand that, sometimes you got to just step it aside and say, I'm sorry, but hey, we're on two different levels right now, and I'm trying to get here, and we're always going to be girls or boys or whatever, but the case is that when you're trying to move up in the world, I think that we all understand, and that's whether you're doing a business or whether you're trying to get a degree or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, you have to stay focused.
Oh, completely. Yeah. And I think the key is you have to be okay with where you are right now. Yeah. Like, I am 100% okay with where I am right now, but I know I can be better. And because if I wasn't okay with where I am right now, I'm almost trying to run away from whatever situation I have. And when you run away from it, you have these issues that you're not addressing. So when you get to the next level, when you get to your 100,000 followers, when you get to your $10,000 a month revenue, you're still not going to be happy. And so you have to get right with yourself first. And then then you can kind of have those checks and balances for yourself and assess your team and see where you're at. But I think that's the first key. And what I tell a lot of the people that I'm, working with, or just even talking to on a daily basis, like, be okay with where you are right now. And then you worry about taking it to the next level.
Absolutely. All right. So tell me, what's your greatest success? What have you experienced? I guess because you have so many things going on, if you had to look back from where you are now and where you were, what would be that great success story that you could talk about?
I think my greatest success is myself and where I am today. I mean, I'm here able to talk to you about something about business. And 5 years ago, I would have not been having this conversation. I, would have been scared. I was less secure than I am now. I was less confident. And that's why I really work with a lot of females to talk about security and confidence, because that was my limiting factor in everything. And now, even with the incubator concept, had I not been confident and, sure of myself and my abilities and what I can do, I never would have even put myself out there, because there's a possibility that, I could fall flat on my face. But I believe in myself enough to know that I may very well fall flat on my face, but rest assured, I'm picking myself back up. And I have my team, and we're going to go and we're going to dominate the game every single day. So I think my biggest success is, where I am right now and just getting started and keeping that momentum going.
All right. Yeah, and I agree, because being in business, it can be difficult every day. And like I said, it's okay to fall flat on your face as long as you get up.
Exactly.
Because you have to crawl before you can, walk and run. It is what it is. And no matter what you're doing in life, but in business, we kind of have this instant gratification thing going on. And you realize, though, that, hey, you can keep it moving, and coming from where you came from and understanding knowing who you are, that's the beauty, I think, of listening to your story here right now. But the thing I do want to ask too is that, you know, you're all about helping people. So if you had something you wanted to share with any woman or anybody in reference to coming into business, what would that be?
I think we all have a very unique skill set. We all have very unique passions, and we all have very unique drives within us. And it is our duty, right? I say this all the time. It is our duty to the world to share that with the world. I mean, we are here to share our gifts with the world. And, you know, one of my favorite quotes is from Marianne Williamson from this book called A Return to Love. Mm-hmm. And she says, like, I think the very first sentence of the book is, success means that we go to bed at night knowing that our talents and our gifts were used to best serve others. And so when you operate in that context and you know that you have something inside you, we all do, that we are meant to share with the world. And when we align with that and we align with what our purpose is in this world, you know, we're always worried about, I need to get this job because it's going to pay me this much money and that's going to pay my bills. And I get that. Like, I have a kid, if I don't make money,
right,
my daughter is not going to eat and my puppies are not going to eat, right?
Well, you can't live.
I know.
That's a part of society. It's what we have to do is work.
And, you know, I'm a very firm believer is that in that when you get tuned into what you are meant to be doing here on this great, you know, this great earth, that the money will follow. The money will chase you instead of you chasing the money. And it can be hard and it can be difficult, but life, we never had that guarantee. We didn't come, you know, from our moms and with the guarantee in our hand to say you are going to have such an easy time. And we learn from a lot of hardships. Like, I've had, you know, a lot of situations where I've been drugged through the mud. I've been, you know, couldn't get out of bed. I was sleeping. I was, you know, super tired, depressed, sad, whatever you want to have. But those are some of my, I'm most grateful for those moments. And so, you know, I guess the main takeaway is that you have it and we all have it. And it's just a matter of surrounding yourself with the right people, believing in yourself, and just putting one foot in front of the other every single day. Sometimes your strides might be really strong, like really long, and then sometimes they might be like those little baby steps that you take, but it's forward motion because you're always either moving towards your goals or you're moving away from them. So It's your choice, and you just have to choose wisely.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's the reason why I even have this podcast program and have the organization that I have, because I really want women to learn how to utilize their resources and share those resources. Because at the end of the day, we all know as business owners, you can't make it without each other, period. You know, there is no business if you don't have the people and you don't support each other. So I think that, you know, having this opportunity to interview wonderful people like you and the many other women that I've had the opportunity to interview and going to continue to interview, this is my whole purpose, you know, is just getting those resources out and understand that you're not alone. There's so many people out here doing exactly what you are doing, being in business, but we all have a different perspective of it, and being able to share that perspective, I think, is the part that is important for me. And I'm so blessed to, you know, to have this opportunity to, you know, have people on and talk about their experiences.
And I think that before we go any further,
that's okay.
I think that, you know, it's sharing and it's talking to people, and people are so, I see all the time on Instagram. I love Instagram, by the way. That's why I've been talking about it so much. But I see all the time of the, you know, set some goals and stay quiet about them and whatever. But I believe just the opposite. So whatever your goals are, tell everybody and anybody what your goals are, because you never know. You could be in the elevator with somebody who has a great connection for you.
That's right.
And I will use us as an example. That we are at the gym working out together at 5 a.m. in the morning for a very long time. And I'm starting businesses and you're starting your business. And then one day we just happen to mention it and like, oh, we're doing the same thing. Like, we're on the same journey. Let's do this together. And so, you know, don't keep your goals to yourself. You don't have to tell all the details, and please don't Facebook diary it, but you can put it out there. I am interested in helping people returning from, you know, incarceration, or returning to their communities. Who else? And you'll be surprised at people that you didn't even know that was in that space. Or I'm interested in creating jewelry from, newspaper, whatever
Right,
it is. You have
exactly.
no idea the people that are in your life already every single day that can help get you to that next level.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's funny because I always tell people that everybody I've met since I've been here in the 12 years, I have met everybody from working out. And I'm like, okay, what is this about the gym? Or if I'm doing Zumba or whatever. And I just think it's amazing that
because they don't ask you your educational attainment when you walk
Exactly.
through the door. They don't ask you your political party when you walk through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, we're all just there, and it's that alignment of missions. Like
Right.
we are all there to get our stress. I go sometimes just to kick my butt and get the stress out that I need to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But we are all there on a similar mission, and
That's
so
right.
everything else is off the table, and we can add that later if we want.
Right, exactly, and that's the beauty of it. So we're getting close to the end, so I want to ask you, how can the listeners get a hold of you? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, well, you can find me in many places, clearly. I'm all over the place. You can find me. But I think the easiest way through my blogging site is Caitlin.com, KATELINN.com. And my email is Kate at Caitlin.com. I'm on Instagram, the letter K, number 8.LINN. I would love to be friends with anybody on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. And in any other platform that I can
That you can think of,
and that I can stay consistent in. That's
Okay.
the main thing.
All right. So, is there any other last words?
I think just we all have what it takes, and anybody who's listening right now, that one idea that you have, go for it. There's absolutely nothing out there stopping you from achieving your goals and achieving everything that this great world has in store for you. So just put yourself out there, keep making that forward movement, and surround yourself with great people and knock it out of the park every single day.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It has been a pleasure. You have no idea. I'm just sitting over here excited. If y'all could see us right now, you probably think these two crazy ladies. But it has been really wonderful. Like I said, thank you for coming and sharing your story with us tonight. For everybody else, I appreciate you coming on. You can find me at the website anytime at www.sbillc.com. I'm also connected on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I am here every Thursday night at 7 p.m. But until then, have a good evening and see you next time.
Bye.